Hey everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program RP-0. We are joining the Origami glider. It is about to make its transition into Venus SOI. We've got a small 40 or so meter per second burn to attend to adjust our course to avoid piling face first into the planet's surface. So we'll just go ahead and get our tanks unlocked. Oh, we should probably turn on our RCS. That might be a worthwhile endeavor. That's going to take a couple of minutes, 241 seconds to be exact, which comes out to a little over 4 minutes at the time, I guess. So it's a good thing we are an hour away from that node I just set up, so we've got plenty of time to make these things happen. And Flight Computer will very helpfully automatically drop us out of time warp, and we can go ahead and get ourselves pitched over here. Alright, that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and do the burn a little early. Actually, how much of this? It might take an hour on the back of our CS. I don't even think I ever bothered to turn on this engine. We had such a... Yeah, I didn't. So another 4 minutes to activate the engine. We just had such a dead-on course off the upper stage from our DN series that this stage was almost entirely unnecessary. I'm super glad we have it because we can do some braking off the engine. Actually, we might just be able to go for a propulsive capture entirely. And that would be very interesting. It's something I've ever... Have I actually done a propulsive capture? I can't remember ever doing one because my fuel budgets are usually pretty tight. I know I've assisted in aero capture with an engine, mostly at Mars. Although I think I did it with the Venus Return project, the one that actually went to Venus. Alright, well, we got about 3 minutes to wait for our activate engine command to go through, so we'll just engage in some very dangerous physics warping here while leaning on the RCS thrusters. This will also give us a chance to shift some of the center of mass forward, because we'll have some room in this tank now that we used those thrusters a bit, and we'll be draining fuel from this tank, which we totally need to do. Keeping the center of mass as close to that heat shield will aid us in stability during aero capture, but I don't know if we'll actually need to do that. I'll make this adjustment, then I'll take a look at the total delta V figures. I still have this tank unlocked, and so we'll see what a propulsive capture would look like. It would certainly be safer, and certainly a lot easier. Aero captures at Venus are, how to put it nicely, they're not a lot of fun, because there's a very, very, very thin line between aero capture into orbit and deorbiting. So alright, 27 or some odd meters per second to burn. Let's make sure this gets ullaged in very nicely, very stable. Ignition. And that is coming down quite quickly. And shutdown. That's a little too high, but if it clears the atmosphere, yeah, 263. Add maneuver. Let's see what a good capture would look like. Yeah, about 2,000 or so meters per second. Now, alright. The limiting factor in our orbit is going to be the range of these antennas that we brought with them. And I think each of these are about 16 million when they're deployed. So really we could set an orbit of about 30 million and have very good ground coverage. But we do want to use some of their delta V to offset their plane. Because we don't necessarily want them in a polar orbit. That gives us very limited coverage as far as the range for our aircraft, at least, you know. But Venus does rotate on its axis very, very slowly, which works to our advantage in this case. But 2,200 meters per second. With this tank open, it's saying we got 647. Let's open up this tank. 1,591. This is interesting. Let me just move some fuel around. 1700, that still leaves 375 units of fuel there. I think we can make this happen. Let me just check that. Yeah, not a whole lot of difference there. And actually, if we save that fuel, we can use that to deorbit our glider here. This is very interesting. You know what? I think we will be going for a propulsive capture. Let me just make sure that with 1700 meters per second, we'll still be in a quality orbit. Yeah, right around 17 million, which is within our coverage range of these satellites. Yeah, let's do that. Alright, that is in 2 days. How long before our rover makes windfall here? 3 days. Perfect. That is awesome. Alright. Let's just time warp on in and ride this thing home. There's Venus. Oh yeah, Kerbal Alarm Clock has a node set up, so we'll probably get bounced out of time warp here very soon. And I actually don't think we need to make adjustments to the rover either. I mean small ones to make sure we don't come through the atmosphere very fast. Yep, there's our SOI change happening in 1 minute. Yep, and we are now on the blue line. Good, good, good. All right, let's do this, man. It's the first time I've seen it do this effect on Venus. This happens a lot at Jupiter. And then, yeah, clears right up. That is pretty awesome, I have to say. Alright. And we are going to come down on the daylight side, and since we're not hitting the atmosphere, I don't have to write a shutdown or boot sequence, which makes me very happy. Those things tend to be kind of a pain, and I'm not very good at it. Fairly inaccurate with my timing, which I could definitely be better if I just chose to pay more attention. Alright, says that burn's going to take 7 minutes. We will displace pretty much that much in 5 minutes 39 seconds. I am, however, going to be moving some fuel from this stage to kind of compensate for it. But we're going to go ahead and get down to about the 2-minute mark, or the 3-minute mark, sorry. And then get angled in and light these engines. Yeah. No connection. That's fantastic. That's why I should have written a sequence. It's because I wasn't sure if I was going to have connection here. Well, it's a good thing we've pre-programmed all of these maneuvers at the last minute when we had connection. Alright. Let's ullage our engine. Very stable. We'll just give it a couple of seconds here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. We have good light on our AJ-10. Yeah, we're not burning fuel from that tank. We are burning fuel from this tank. Not quite what I meant to do there. There we go. In. Alright, and stop. There we go. We'll put that away. We're going to save that fuel to keep the pod oriented into its heat shield, or keep the origami oriented to its heat shield as it is making its entry. It will need to angle itself a little bit to maintain altitude until it is at such a place where it can jettison the heat shield and fly under its own power, which hopefully will be really cool to see, and hopefully it will not tear itself apart in the atmosphere. All of these things have yet to be seen or proven. And with a nice long burn ahead of us, I went ahead and excused myself to go grab a new soda and just kind of let this thing do its thing. I don't know. Aero capture at Venus, aero capture anywhere is pretty easy. And there is capture. We're just going to get this apoapsis down to something a little more reasonable. And like any other maneuver, capture into orbit, it's easy to get captured. It's hard to get your apoapsis down to something reasonable. It takes a lot of delta V, which is why I typically choose to aero capture through these things. And in retrospect, I really just should have gone ahead and done that. Although it's always very, very hairy and very difficult to get that angle just right and get your altitude just right. So I won't beat myself up too much on using all of the delta V budget just to get ourselves captured here. Alright, and there's our engine shutdown. I was more watching these numbers here than the actual delta V here, or the time remaining on our burn, but we're down to an apoapsis of 17.56 million, periapsis of 265 kilometer. I'd say that's pretty good. We just need to wait to get the comm link with Earth, and then we'll just start kicking some of these satellites out. Yeah, looks like we're fairly close to where the V cell landed. Pretty far away from where the Omega 1, that was our first Venus lander, that was our second Venus lander. So, good. We've got some variety going on here. And I think if we re-enter here and we plot it right, and we do some gliding, we can probably get down over here somewhere before we get out of range. Alright, so when are we going to re-establish comms? There we go. Alright, and now with magic and stuff, activate, activate, yeah, we should probably extend one of these panels, make sure it's got battery comms on all on its own. We're going to start kicking our satellites off, and one by one we will go to their apogee and then have them burn to a higher, hopefully more circular orbit. I doubt they'll have enough delta V to circularize all on their own, but that's okay. Oh, and I forgot which one I was messing with. Oy vey. Oops. Alright, well, we should probably turn that on for the sake of comm connections. And then we'll just time warp until one of them boots up, and then we'll decouple it. There we go. Decouple. We'll give that a couple of seconds to kick in. Activate. Activate. Extend. Decouple. So we'll give that one a couple of minutes to get free, and then we'll start booting them up and plotting their courses. How long do we have until our rover gets here? 15 hours. That's not bad. Our total orbital period's probably about a little less. Well, I don't know. We'll be at apoapsis in 2 hours. So it looks like our total orbital period's probably about 5 or 6 hours. 6 hours maybe. So we've got some time to actually get this network set up and in place before we have to deal with our other arriving spacecraft. And that is fantastic. Alright. Good, you have your own comms. Activate. Extend. Extend. I don't know if that took or not, but oh, here comes the other one. Oh, that's a cool view. That is awesome. Oh, wait. Okay. Messing with my view, dude. Quit it. I wonder how Flight Computer deals with all of my jumping around like this. Activate. Extend. Nope, we're going to play the You Can't Click on Me game today. Extend. And you should be the odd guy in the middle. Yep, there's the parent. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to spot such a tiny little satellite anytime soon. We'll switch back to him. He's got a good view there. That's pretty cool. Alright. So we'll just let this little guy boot himself up. And that should already be targeting Earth. I was actually smart enough to go ahead and do that beforehand. Good for me. And now that he has his own independent comms, and he should be, yep, powering all by himself. There you go, little dude. Very proud of you. Very, very proud indeed. We'll just come out here to your apoapsis, add maneuver. Dogs. And while they made absolutely sure that whoever was walking by the house didn't break in or do anything wrong, they just kept walking. Yeah. They were doing their job. That's what matters. Anyway, I got the probe oriented and faced into its node, and then time warped out to its apoapsis and started the burn. And of course I flew right past the node. No big deal. I'm just going to tap the throttle to full. We're just going to run this little guy dry and see what kind of displacement we can get out of this little tank. So here we go. And as you can see in the bottom right hand corner, the RCS Delta V figures in MechJeb are not working. So I really had no idea how much Delta V this thing would be able to impart and what kind of resultant orbit we'd be able to change. Obviously the 1 kilometer per second node that I plotted was extraordinarily ambitious, and I had no real hope that this thing was actually going to be able to displace that much, but it was a good goal to shoot for, and it did do a bit more than I guess I actually anticipated. Alright, we're going to kill the engine there and reposition the probe into the sun. Whoa, alright. And I think that did it. So, cheating with time warp. There we go. That should give us more than enough juice. Yep. Electric charge is topped off and full. That's fantastic. And our first ComSat is in place. I mean, sort of. This is our resultant orbit based on burning all of our fuel. We're inclined from our primary by a few degrees, which is helpful. What is not helpful, however, is that all subsequent satellites that we deploy are probably going to have a similar eccentricity to their orbit, which means they're going to be going nice and slow up here and providing lots of coverage, but as they come down the orbital path, they're going to speed up, which means that their time over our primary, which is where we will be operating our aircraft, is going to be less and less. And basically we're going to get some clustering. I imagine that at some point we'll have like one here, one here, one here, and one here, and zero coverage on this side. And that's exactly the opposite of what we wanted to happen. So we might have to think about where we deploy our glider, given our limited fuel budget now. I really should have just aero captured like I wanted to. But I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these satellites placed, and I will probably do that off camera because it's going to be basically this with a couple of orbits interspersed. So I will not bore you with these terribly boring things. Origami 2 probe, switch 2. So that's going to do it for this episode, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out. I do appreciate it, and I will see all of you in the next one. So until then, see you later.